Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? You're listening to Heart with Saima, the podcast show for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Saima Dillon, your host. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. Without waiting anymore, let's dive right in with today's guest, Curtis Anderson. He's a motivational speaker. On June 7th, 2002, Curtis barely survived a bull riding accident at the Ponoka Stampede, where he sustained an extremely severely traumatic brain injury. Curtis never gave up hope as he worked to regain his physical mobility. He spent a week, short of a year, in therapy, learning how to walk, talk, regain the use of his left arm, and the basic life skills. Still making progress in his recovery, his new mission in life is to instill hope and provide inspiration to others. Recovery from a life altering trauma is possible, and that's what we are going to talk about with Curtis today. So, without waiting anymore, hey Curtis, welcome to Heart with Saima. How are you doing this evening?
Good, Saima. Thank you for having me on here. I'm talking to you all the way from Alberta.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty awesome. How's the weather in Alberta?
Well, I think it was 25 today, so that's pretty hot for this time of the year up here.
Oh, and I'm in Texas, so we had a cold front recently, and it was in the 60s at night. Daytime was still 90s. Okay, so I think, Curtis, I can't see you. We've lost you right there. So while we wait on Curtis to get back into the stream, how is everyone doing? Okay, so Curtis should come back into the stream. Um, well, how about I try talking? I'm usually used to asking other people questions, but you know what? Curtis just saved me because he came right back. Curtis, I lost you there, and I was sitting here trying to think, okay, what am I going to talk to people about while I wait on you to come back to share your story? So thank God you came back in time, and I didn't have to overexert my brain. I'm going to hand over the screen to you and give you a chance to tell us about you.
Okay, I'll take you from the morning it happened till now. June 27th, 2002. Start out as just another day. It was scorching hot outside. I traveled to the Ponoka Stampede, one of the fifth biggest rodeos in North America. The last thing that I remember was setting my rope on a bull named Real Handy. They opened the gate. I lost my balance and boom, boom. My head smashed the bull's head twice. I spent the first 3 weeks in a drug-induced coma at the University of Alberta Hospital in Edmonton. The first thing that I remember was the ambulance ride over to the Glen Rose Rehabilitation Hospital. I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't know what had happened. I soon realized that I could no longer walk, no longer talk, or move my left arm. When I seen my family and friends again, I had to write everything down in a scribbler to communicate. I had to move my left arm with my right. When I took my first steps, the physiotherapist walked alongside me for an hour a day, teaching me how to walk step by step. It'd be your cane, left foot, and then right. There would be an assistant walking behind me with a chair so I could take a break once in a while. And it was a big deal to walk 20 feet without stopping. On May 30th this year, I walked 19.8 miles.
Wow.
I started out with a feeding tube, pureed food, then diced food, chopped up in little pieces. I am now able to cut my own steak. I started out with ice chips, thickened water, now the real stuff. The first step of independence that I regained was when I was able to make my own transfers from my bed to my chair. I was then able to take myself to therapy and for my meals. I went outside and I put my bare feet in the grass. It gave me a sensation that lit up my whole body. I would even lay down in the grass and exercise. One night, I went swimming without telling anyone. Well, the security guards found me, escorted me out of the pool, and back to my room. And I was wondering what everyone was just so wound up about. I had everything under control. I was also part of an oral motor group with other survivors. We would take turns pronouncing vowels and then words. The first words that I had to get off my chest and tell the world was, my ass is sore. After the meals, you'd have to sit in that chair for an hour before you're able to lay down. The first time I went for dinner in my chair, rolling in the restaurant was like being hit by a baseball bat. You hear everyone talking, all of the background noise, then everyone stops and stares at you, and it was too much stimulation. Throughout my recovery, people look at me and get the impression that I'm unable to do things, but you're better off to do it on your own, because if you never try, you won't get better. And it doesn't matter if it takes you 10 times as long, you are still able to do it on your own. One day, the frustration was building up. I got mad, threw my cane on the top of the roof. And then I looked up there and realized, well, that sure did a lot of good when I need my cane to walk. Big part of recovery is acceptance and realizing that life is not a matter of holding good cards, but making the most of the hands you have been dealt. I speak at brain injury centers and other events where there are survivors, and there has been survivors tell me that I was an inspiration for them to keep going in their recovery. It doesn't get better when you hear a statement like that. I have walked down the road that they're on. I know what it is all about. I can share my story and they can relate. It is a lot different than someone talking out of a textbook or reading stats. No one can ever say how far you will go. Determination, dedication, try, grit, courage, confidence, commitment, resilience, tenacity, perseverance, optimism, strength, and the most important, patience is a choice until it is the only choice that you have. I spoke at a junior high school in Vermilion, and there was a boy that rode his bike to school all the time. At the end of the day, the boy inspected his helmet and realized it was unsafe to wear. He ended up walking his bike home. To know my story made that much of an impact is something you don't put words on. I spoke at the elementary school in Ponoka, and there was a 7-year old boy walk up to me and say, I would like to thank you for not giving up. Well, those words went straight to my heart. I met Rob McKenzie at the Ponoka. I met Rob McKenzie at the First Responders Rodeo in St. Albert. And Rob was the just. I'll just go back. I met Greg Wayanko at the First Responders Rodeo in St. Albert, and Greg was the paramedic that put the intravenous on me in the arena that day. And I met Rob McKenzie at the Ponoka Stampede in 2019. And Rob was the paramedic that jumped over the fence. He was sitting there watching the rodeo. He jumped over the fence to intubate me so I could start breathing again. It's pretty darn powerful when you can shake hands with Rob, Greg, the Canadian Pro Sports Medicine team that gave me an opportunity to live. A doctor told me once during my recovery, he said, Curtis, you are not out of the woodworks yet, but the trees are getting farther apart. Well, I could see more and more daylight now. I have never walked a mile in anyone else's boots, but I know what it means to never give up. Where there is a set of stairs in the public, there's usually only a railing on one side of them. Well, it took me 8 years before I could use that left railing again. A lot of the times I went down the stairs backwards just so I could hang onto the railing with my right arm. If there was no railing, I'd be stuck at the top or bottom. And I've asked a lot of strangers over the years for help up and down the stairs. It took me 9 years to tie my hockey skates and 10 years before I could pick change up off the counter. The bull, real handy. He won the fight that day, fair and square. But real handy, he is long gone hamburger, and I'm still here. So I end up being the champion. Take a step forward and spend some time and make a difference in someone's life. One day, someone is going to come along and make a difference in yours. Now, you have heard my story. It doesn't matter how many chips are down. Don't you ever, ever give up on what you want to do. Doesn't matter what life throws at you. One thing you got to believe in, you got to believe in yourself. Thank you.
You just said something so powerful. You said that you do something for others, and one day, someone else will come and do something for you. And I think that is just something so amazingly powerful. You've gone through so much, and after going through your journey of it must have been such a hardship to overcome, and it must have taken so much strength and courage to overcome your hardship, and then to come to the realization that you want to use your story to inspire and motivate other people. That right there is just so powerful. Where did you find the courage from, Curtis?
Well, Saima, right when I think it was when I was first in the Glen Rose, I had a little book and I was writing down a few notes, and I wrote down to be a speaker, teach people, and help others. And when I go to them brain injury centers and speak, I mean, it's a good chance that I've walked down the same road that they're on, so I can relate with what they're going through. And they can, I guess, feel comfortable talking to me, and it's just a chance to raise awareness. I mean, there's a lot of people have a brain injury, but I want to get it to a level where people take their concussion serious, and yeah.
So Curtis, how old were you when you were so you were going into the arena for a bullfight?
No, as to ride, as not a bullfight, but to ride a bull. So when the gate opened, Saima, I lost my balance, and my head smacked the bull's head twice.
Oh wow!
And Saima, 2 weeks before my accident, I had a severe concussion. At I had a severe concussion, so my brain was already injured to a certain degree. So I'm living proof what happens when you go back too soon without letting your brain heal from the first concussion.
So what thought went through your head when you fell down and you felt that impact of your head hitting the bull's head? Did you get knocked out instantly, or did something pass through your mind just before that impact?
Oh no, like Simon, I mean, I don't remember any of that. Like the last thing that I remember was just, before like just setting my rope on the bull to get ready to go to get ready to ride, but I don't remember any of the accident or nothing.
So you said you were out for 3 weeks, right? Before you actually before you woke up, you were out for 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, but they had me in a
Before,
drug-induced coma to control the swelling of the brain.
yeah. So before, when you regained your consciousness,
Yeah, that
what
was
was
three
your
weeks
feeling?
later.
What was your feeling? What did you go through?
Simon, to tell you the truth, right at the beginning, it you don't realize what just happened. Like when I thought I was going to ride again in a couple weeks. I mean, you don't quite. It it seemed like after every week or so, your feet would get closer to get back to normal.
So it is Curtis's internet connection, and uh, I think okay, he's coming back in. So he's back. Okay, go ahead, Curtis. Continue.
Yeah, so it just when you wake up out of your drug-induced coma, you're not quite aware of how severe of an injury that you just had. And like I thought I was going to ride again in a couple weeks, but I mean 19 years later, I'm still making progress in my recovery, and it's something that'll be forever.
How old were you when this happened?
27.
Wow. So it was the prime age of your life when it happened, and after that you've spent 19 years in recovery.
Yeah.
So Curtis, where are you planning on going from here?
Well, Saima, I would like to travel around, and if I could speak every day of the week, I would, because that's what I want to do, and I know that's what my purpose is to share my story and help others, and just teach prevention and talk to kids, talk to everyone about how serious a concussion is. But I would like to travel. I'd like to come down in Texas and speak at some conferences and stuff like that.
And so, do you live by yourself? Who do you live
Yeah,
with?
I
You
live
do.
on my own.
Okay. So now, after 19 years, you're comfortable. You're on your own. You're beginning or you've begun a different journey where you've become a motivational speaker and you hope to change lives. Throughout this, your journey of life, Curtis, what has been the highlight of what do you realize the impact of your your survival and your recovery, and the courage, the amount of courage it must have taken for you to bring yourself to this point, the kind of strength that must have, I mean, how strong must you be to be able to come to this point? What is it? What's the highlight of your life that makes you proud of you?
I guess, Saima, I started, it's called the Courage Canada Trail Ride. I started in 2004 to put Branger on the map and to give survivors a chance to ride in a wagon, go on a trail ride. And that's a big highlight. But just getting out to schools, and I spoke to some kids last fall, and I asked them what they thought about my story, and they told me that I taught them to never give up. So that was a pretty good to hear that. And just I talked to a lot of people one-on-one and talked to a lot of survivors and a lot of survivors' parents, and it just being able to share my story with them and just let people know that recovery isn't going to happen overnight, but in time it does, and you get out what you put in.
Absolutely. Curtis, is there something else you would like to share with the audience?
About recovery, Simon, or what would you
Anything,
like?
anything that you would like to, your dream, your desire, your goal, where what what you would like to accomplish in this life?
Well, I'd like to be I guess a sought after motivational speaker that people want to hear Curtis Anderson's story about recovery and how he made a comeback from a extremely severe traumatic brain injury, and just, I guess, to be known as a person that helps others. I guess that's one of the biggest things.
And that's why you're here, right? You're here to help me touch other people's life and to share your story of being an extraordinary human being, an extraordinary courageous person, who to teach others never to give up and to just get up and to keep moving forward in life. So let's see. So on that note, we are going to keep today's show a bit short. And on that note, we're going to just want to thank everyone for taking the time out to hear what was shared by Curtis Anderson on the podcast today. We hope to inspire you, and we hope to touch lives wherever we go. And we hope that we can provide some inspiration to others, and we can provide some courage and make people believe that anything is possible. So thank you for taking the time out to hear what was shared on today's show by Curtis Anderson. If this inspires you to take the next step in your journey, then I just would like to invite you to join my email list by emailing vip@saimadillon.com. And of course, if you know that this podcast can help someone else, and if you would like to be on my show, do message me. Let's change lives, touch lives together. Just take 30 seconds to simply share, like, subscribe, and share it on social media, and I'll be so grateful. Until next time, thank you for being here, and this is Saima signing off.